Welcome to the third part of the Science of Sales training course. Once again, my name is Daniel, and I want to teach all of you watching how to succeed in your new career in the exciting world of sales. In our first two videos, we covered the science behind a successful sale and how to build rapport with someone. In this video, we'll be covering KYC, or knowing your customer. Knowing your customer is another critical component to making a successful sale. And while knowing your prospect's name, age, and occupation, these are all essential aspects, but you need to discover much more to really know your customer. Therefore, KYC is a comprehensive and in-depth understanding of your prospect. And the only way you can begin to understand your customer is by first gathering intelligence. That's right, you are now an active intelligence agent just like the Mossad, CIA, and MI6 have. And what is the purpose of this intelligence agent? No, it's not to kill people. That's James Bond's job. It's to find out absolutely everything about their target without the target realizing they were ever under surveillance. So to gather intelligence and become an effective operative yourself, you need to do the following three things: question, listen, and observe. Questioning is how you begin the intelligence gathering process. While you are asking questions, you are actively listening and observing a person's body language and gestures if they happen to be in front of you. If you're on a phone call, you need to observe with your ears instead of your eyes. Listen carefully to assess their tone, tempo, volume, and build this avatar of a person in your mind. You are actively listening and continuously assessing what you see and hear. But before you ask your prospect anything, you need to plan your questions. And before you can start planning your questions, you need to understand the different types of questions, along with how and when you should use them. So let's consider the different types of questions and what those questions are used for. I talked about general questions in the Building Rapport video previously, and they are no less important when it comes to KYC. General questions about hobbies, movies, or sports teams people follow are excellent ways to build rapport. They also allow you to gain valuable insight into a person's habits, spending, how much free time they have, and much more. For instance, to explain to you just how much information you could gain from something that might seem completely insignificant at the time, here's a real-life example of when I was on a sales call with a prospect. I was speaking to a woman when I heard something very familiar in the background. It was the Teletubbies. I have a younger daughter, so as you can imagine, the Teletubbies are like an extended family to me. Anyway, when I asked this woman if it was the Teletubbies I heard, this is what she told me. "Wow, you're very attentive." "Yes. Every morning when my husband comes downstairs and drives off to his firm, my two daughters switch on the TV and I need to drag them away to get them dressed for school. Once I pack up the car and run out the door to drop them off at school, I go straight to my yoga class, then on to brunch with my friends or a painting class, so by the time I get home, the TV is still usually on." Now, think about all that information I just gained from this random general question. I now know that this woman has two daughters of school age. She lives in a house. She's married to a lawyer, has two cars, a healthy lifestyle. She doesn't work, but has the resources to spend time and money on herself and her interests. All this valuable information from asking a random general question about the Teletubbies. Of course, the type of general questions you ask will depend on the flow of the conversation. The bottom line, all general questions are important in the sale process, and you just might stumble across something that helps you close the deal. Discovery questions. These type of questions are open-ended questions, and their purpose is to encourage a multi-part response from the customer. For example, questions that begin with, "Tell me about," "Can you help me understand?" "So walk me through this," are all good discovery questions that lead to the customer telling you more and more information you can work with. Let's say you already know that the prospect works at an IT company involved in games, but you have no idea what position they hold and can they afford the product you're offering. Are they a top developer earning $10K a month or part of the administration team making only $1,000 a month? Ask the prospect something like this. "You know what? I have no idea about the IT gaming industry and how it all works. It's just like rocket science to me. Can you help me understand?" People love to talk, and they'll answer you with something like this. "Sure. In simple terms, we design and develop apps for clients. mainly adventure-type games and gambling games like poker and so on. The design team creates all the gameplay ideas, content, and graphics, whereas the guys that I'm in charge of do all the coding and behind-the-scenes work that people don't see, but the games simply can't work without. And there you have it. You've just discovered the answer you were looking for without directly asking about the prospect's position or income level. Discovery questions are vital when it comes to closing a sale. Through them, you can uncover the person's decision criteria and if the person you're talking to is a decision maker or someone else. You can also establish the consequences if the customer doesn't act on your proposal. Discovery questions let you pour water on potential objections before they appear. They provide glimpses of objections in the conversation's early stages, allowing you to deal with them immediately. Qualification questions. This type of questioning aims to find out what the customer's goals and challenges are. Why? Because you need to identify the customer's problems to present the best solution for their needs. Qualification questions also allows you to decide whether or not a customer is worth investing your time and effort in. For example, imagine you are a salesperson in a car garage and a 30-year-old guy walks into the showroom and starts staring at the two-seater sports convertible car in the corner. What do? Run over to him and offer a test drive? No, you don't. You haven't qualified the guy's needs yet. Okay, let's look at it like this. How would you feel if you were out in the car with that guy, your hair blowing in the cool summer breeze, and he tells you he's always dreamed buying one of these cars, but he's married, has 5 kids, a huge mortgage, and after switching jobs 3 months ago, he's now earning 30% less than he was the same time last year. Well, this guy has just had a fantastic ride, but you've just wasted your time, right? You could have been finishing off the sales paperwork for that reasonably priced minivan over there and on to the next sale. This is the reason why the qualification process is essential. The last questions you will ask are closing questions. Closing questions are closed-ended questions where the answer is either yes or no. These types of questions are usually used to seal the deal. And some good examples of closing questions are, do you have any more questions? Does that sound fair to you? Would that work for you? Or if I can make that happen, will you be happy to order now? Only ask closing questions when you know your prospect well enough. You must be sure that you have overcome their objections and you are at the end of the selling process. So those are the 4 types of questions you need to understand. Now you need to know how to plan them. When it comes to planning, you need to consider the type of sale you're about to attempt, because every kind of sale will require a different approach to planning. For instance, if it's a hot lead you have received, you already have some information to get started. Therefore, you can prepare a list of questions. Take the information you have and start researching. If it's a company, then explore the industry, their competitors, pricing, and so on. Not only will it help you to get to know the customer's challenges more, but it will also be helpful in the rapport building process. If it's a person, the same thing applies. Research as much as you can about the status, occupation, income, interest, and so on. If you don't have any information to go on, so that's a cold lead. Then research is impossible in this situation. Here you will need to adapt and think on your feet to guide the prospect in the direction you want. And although you can't research the prospect, use this time wisely to brush up on your product knowledge and practice your pitch, considering as many possible objections as you can imagine. Okay, moving on. If you're not following the rules in the subject I'm going to speak about, then all of what you have just learned will have been a waste of time. And the subject is active listening. Actively listening is just as crucial as your question choice. There are 5 rules to active listening that you must remember to encourage customers to open up and speak freely. 1. Pay attention. Give the customer your complete and undivided attention. Clear your thoughts and ignore environmental distractions, such as conversations taking place around you or background music. Listen to the customer's tone, volume, and tempo. You're trying to build an avatar of the customer based on what you hear on the call. If it's a face-to-face situation, study their body language and use eye contact, alongside matching and mirroring techniques to make them feel more comfortable. Subconsciously, this also demonstrates that you are paying attention. 2. Show that you are listening. If a person is in front of you, then nod when you agree with them. Over the phone, reassure them by regularly saying yes or uh-huh. 3. Provide feedback. Our assumptions, judgments, and beliefs can distort what we hear. As a listener, your job is to understand what the customer is telling you, and the best way to confirm this is by giving them some feedback. Reflect on what the customer is saying by paraphrasing. For example, say things like, "Okay, what I'm hearing is," or "Sounds like you're saying this to me." Summarize what they tell you periodically. All of this lets the customer know that they are important to you and that you value what they have to say. 4. Defer judgment. Don't interrupt. It's a waste of time and it will frustrate the customer. It also stops you from gaining a complete understanding of the customer's point of view. Allow the person to finish before asking any questions and never interrupt with a counter-argument. 5. Respond appropriately. Active listening is designed to encourage respect and understanding. Here you are gaining both information and perspective from the customer. Nothing is gained by attacking the person or stamping on their opinion. And when it comes to your responses, be open and honest. Assert your opinions respectfully and treat the customer the same way you want to be treated yourself. So now that you understand why active listening is just as important as the questions that you choose, dialogue is what the goal is here to gain more and more insight. Knowing your customer requires a balance of questioning and active listening to achieve a constructive dialogue, leading to a positive result. Time for a quick summary of what you have learned today. To really know your customer, you need to gather intelligence. You question, listen, and observe to achieve a deep understanding of the customer. There are many question types, all of which have a specific purpose. And we use active listening techniques to keep the customer talking, so we get the maximum amount of information to work with. Okay, we've reached the end of Knowing Your Customer section in the 5-part video series. In the next video, I'll tell you about the sales pitch and what you'll need to know to create a pitch that sells.